Malik Brown doesn't have much, not by the world's standards anyway. His house is small, the roof patched more times than he can count, and his old truck groans every morning like it's begging for retirement. He works long hours at the local garage, crawling under broken-down cars, fingers stained with grease, often coming home too sore to stand. But he never complains, not once. Because at the end of each long day, there's one thing that matters more than anything else. His daughter, Nia. She's only 6, but she's already the light of his world. Malik may not be able to buy her brand new toys or fancy clothes, but he gives her something far more lasting. His time, his attention, his heart. Every bedtime story, every packed lunch, every scraped knee kissed and comforted, he's there. Always. Life is hard, money's tight, and opportunities feel scarce, but Malik's spirit remains unshaken. What he lacks in wealth, he makes up for in quiet strength. His kindness doesn't come with conditions or expectations. It's just who he is. And in a world that often overlooks people like him, it's that steady presence, that unshakable moral compass that truly stands out. He doesn't do grand gestures. He does the small things that add up, the ones that matter. And it's men like Malik who inspire us to see that character isn't built in comfort, but in how you carry yourself through struggle, with grace, grit, and a heart full of love. The storm hit harder than the forecast warned. Snow whipped across the highway like sheets of white fire, and visibility dropped to almost nothing. Malik kept both hands tight on the wheel, his old truck rumbling steadily down the frozen road as his daughter Nia slept peacefully in the back seat. He was exhausted from another 12-hour shift at the garage, but home was just a few miles ahead, or so he hoped. Then, out of the swirling snow, a faint flicker of hazard lights caught his eye. He slowed down immediately, spotting a black luxury SUV half buried in a snowbank. The engine was silent, and through the fogged-up glass, he saw a woman slumped over the steering wheel. Malik didn't pause to think. He parked, made sure Nia was warm and safe, then stepped out into the storm. The cold bit hard, stinging his cheeks as he pried open the frozen door with a crowbar from under his seat. Inside, the woman was barely breathing, ice cold, unconscious. He scooped her into his arms, carried her through the snow, and placed her gently in the passenger seat of his truck, wrapping her in his own coat. Back at his modest home, Malik laid her by the wood stove, warmed her with blankets, and gave her tea from the last clean mug he had. He still didn't know her name. He didn't ask. She needed help, and that was all that mattered. In that quiet, snow-covered night, his kindness wasn't loud or dramatic. It was real, raw, and instinctive. He didn't expect thanks or recognition. And yet, it was this single, selfless moment that would later inspire a ripple effect neither of them could see coming. Claire woke slowly, warmth replacing the bitter cold she last remembered. She was on a worn couch near a wood stove, wrapped in quilts and holding a steaming mug of tea. Across the room, a little girl peeked from behind a curtain, curious but unafraid. Beside the fire, the man who had saved her stirred a pot of soup, never once asking who she was. The house was humble, patched floors, mismatched furniture, walls lined with hand-drawn art, but it felt safe. Safe in a way Claire hadn't felt in years. She'd built her life in glass offices, surrounded by people who respected her title, not her. But here, she was just a woman who needed help, and received it without question. Nia stepped forward, offering Claire her own blanket. "It's got stars. It's really warm," she said proudly. Claire managed a small smile. That simple gesture touched something buried deep inside. In that quiet moment, the kindness of a stranger and the innocence of a child began to thaw a heart frozen by years of pressure and distance. She didn't know what would come next, but one thing was clear. This night, in all its simplicity, would inspire a change she never saw coming. By morning, the storm had passed. But something deeper had shifted in Claire. Sitting in that modest living room, watching Malik quietly fix her car without asking for a single thing in return, she felt a weight she hadn't named until now. For years, she had climbed ladders, built empires, and made decisions that impressed boardrooms, but left her feeling empty. Her title, her wealth, the corner office, they no longer meant what they used to. She hadn't told him who she was. She didn't need to. Malik never asked. He didn't treat her like someone important. He treated her like someone human, cold, hurt, and worth saving. That, more than anything, broke something loose in her chest. When Claire returned to her SUV and saw it humming back to life, she looked at him with different eyes. Not as a mechanic, but as a man who lived with quiet dignity and gave more than most would ever know. His simple acts of kindness had done what no executive retreat or leadership seminar ever could. They reminded her of what truly matters. Back in her world of numbers and polished suits, Claire couldn't forget that night. The man, the little girl, the flickering stove. And so, for the first time in a long time, she chose to lead not from power, but from purpose. His actions didn't just save her life, they would inspire her to change it. 2 weeks after the storm, Malik found a heavy cream-colored envelope in his mailbox. No return address, just his name written in elegant handwriting. Inside was a letter from Claire. She had finally revealed her full identity, Claire Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Automotive Group. But the letter wasn't about power or status. It was about gratitude. She thanked him, not for saving her life, but for reminding her what it meant to live with purpose. Enclosed with the letter was a job offer, lead technician and supervisor at a new training facility in Helena, complete with full benefits and flexible hours for single parents. And behind that, one more surprise, a receipt showing his mortgage had been paid in full. For a long moment, Malik just sat on the porch steps, letter in hand, staring at the snow melting off the roof. The house he'd fought to keep, the one filled with laughter, old coffee mugs, and Nia's drawings, was finally, fully his. No more late fees, no more choosing between groceries and heating bills. It wasn't charity, it was acknowledgement. Recognition of who he was, not what he lacked. His kindness had made an impression far greater than he ever intended. As he looked at his daughter dancing barefoot in the hallway, Malik felt something he hadn't in years. Hope. Real hope. Not just for tomorrow, but for a future he could build with dignity. And for Claire, it was never about repayment. It was about honoring the moment that changed them both. A single act that would continue to inspire far beyond a snow-covered highway. Life slowly returned to its familiar rhythm for Malik. Early mornings, engine grease, Nia's laughter echoing through their little home. But something had changed. Not just the paid-off mortgage or the new job offer waiting in Helena. It was the feeling of being seen, of knowing his choices, no matter how quiet, had made a difference. Claire, back in her glass tower office, now measured success differently. Her days were still busy, her responsibilities no lighter, but her heart carried a new weight, one filled with purpose. She kept Malik's thank you note in her coat pocket, rereading it on days when the world felt heavy. It simply said, "You didn't owe me anything, but you gave me everything. Thank you." What began as a rescue on a snowy highway had become something far deeper, a connection built not on circumstance, but on character. Malik hadn't asked for anything. He had just done what he believed was right. That kind of kindness doesn't make headlines, but it changes lives. Their paths might never fully intertwine again, but they would always carry that night with them. The warmth of a fire, the quiet trust of a child, and the unspoken bond between two people from different worlds. This story isn't just heartwarming. It's a reminder that the smallest acts can inspire the greatest change. And sometimes, when we give without expecting anything in return, life gives back in ways more beautiful than we could ever imagine.